Hi everyone, I don't know about you guys, but I can't believe that 2021 is upon us. I know a lot of us have been looking forward to having a fresh year since this one didn't end up so well. And if you watched my 2020 video where I set up my bullet journal, the equivalent of this one, it hasn't aged so well because I was so excited about this year, and yeah, we all know how that turned out. I have a brand new notebook. I have always used Loesch terms before, but this time I have a Notebook Therapy Tsuki. This is one of the soft cover ones. And you know what? It fits in my Mimco cover. This is so exciting to me because I've had this notebook cover since my birthday last year, 2019. And I couldn't fit the Loesch terms in. The hardcovers just, it wouldn't play. But I'm so excited that I can finally use this notebook cover because it's so gorgeous. It's got this tropical, sneaky kind of design. If you've been around for a while, you might know that my 2020 setup was very floral. And if you've been around for a really long time, you might know that my 2019 setup was also floral. Yep, not very original last year, was I? But I'm pushing some boundaries this time. I'm changing it up for 2021, and I'm going with something very different to flowers. The thing about these floral setups, as much as I love them, because I'm very, very happy with them, is that they take a really long time. There's a lot of detail. So I'm going for something much quicker. I wasn't feeling up to sitting for several hours sketching out the beginning of my bullet journal this time around, so I'm going for something simpler, which is a star theme. Something celestial, something a little bit magical, you know? I've grabbed out all of my pens that match this notebook cover, anything from the green, purple, and blue kind of family, and I've already gone through and swatched them all so I know what they look like in the book, and I'll have a video of those swatches coming very, very soon for you. But for now, I'm going to get started. As you can see, I've already gone through in pencil and sketched everything out. I'm just going to grab a ruler, and then we're going to get to work. This is my Sharpie pen. It's my favorite Fineliner because you can erase pencil lines from underneath it immediately after drawing your line, and it doesn't smudge anywhere, which is the best. I'm not usually the kind of girl who likes to grab a ruler for her bullet journal. I'm pretty happy to freehand things, as stresses some of you out. Sorry, Benny. But for this one, I want it to be very schmick and very smooth and very classy and minimalist, I guess, on this first page. So I went in with a ruler to outline this hexagon shape. And now I'm using a Tombow dual tip brush pen in black just to add on my 2021 in the middle of my hexagon here. Now, from here, we're going to get colorful. I'm just going to grab the first of my colors. This is a Tombow dual tip brush pen, and using the knot brush end, I'm going to show you how I do a star. So you start in the bottom left-hand corner, you draw up, and then back down, making a very pointy V shape. You then intersect the first line that you drew, you go straight across, and then back down to join up to the first point that you drew. If you haven't done this kind of star before, where you don't pick up your pen off the page, I spent so much time drawing these when I was in school. It was definitely a thing when I was in primary school. I don't know if it's still a thing for kids to draw these stars that you don't need to lift your pen off the paper to draw. I am lifting my pen off the paper, just to make sure that my lines are nice, but kind of also for demonstrative purposes. As you'll see, I'll get a lot faster as we go through. Here's another one of those stars so you can see in blue. And then I'm just connecting my little stars so they sort of look like shooting stars or fireworks or something along those lines back into the hexagon shape there. Not totally joining my lines up, just so that it's kind of an indication of movement, you know, like they're exploding out from the new year. From here, I'm going to get a little bit faster because this is just a lot of the same thing over and over, and you're going to see me draw a lot of stars. Depending on where you are in the world right now, I'm guessing that your plans for 2021 could be very different. I'm lucky to be somewhere that is handling the virus pretty well at the moment, so things are almost business as usual in Brisbane right now, except for a little bit of social distancing. We're allowed to go out, we don't have to wear masks, we're allowed to go to concerts and have parties and stuff, which is pretty amazing, and I'm so grateful to be in that position because I know a lot of you aren't. Please comment below and let me know how things are going in your country, and please know that I'm thinking of you, and if you're wearing a mask and going to the effort to socially distance and, you know, taking care generally, then thank you. I really appreciate you, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people around you who do as well. The pens I'm using here, I'm switching it up. I don't actually own that many pens, but I've got some Tombow dual tip brush pens, as you've already seen. Most of the other colors are Faber-Castell Pitt Artist brush pens, and the ones that are a little bit more opaque are the Faber-Castell Pitt Knot Brush metallic pens. I knew I wanted cool colors because it's summer in Australia and it's really, really hot already. Apparently we had the hottest November on record, which is not a fun time when it's supposed to be a La Nina year. I'm going to add in some purple as well, and I was thinking that was my cover page about done, but I'm actually going to pop back over to it and add some more stuff later, as you'll see. But for now, we're going to leave it there. Once I've got this lilac-y kind of color down, because I knew I was going to want to use it on the next page. And we're going to get into the future log. Last year, I did a double spread future log, so the first page was the first spread was just from January up until June, and then there was another spread for July to December. And then I found I really don't go back to my future log a great many times through the year, but I do also think that it's important to have. So I've decided to condense it down to a single spread this time around. Getting back in with my ruler to make sure that everything is very nice and clean, because I'm going to need all of the space that I have probably for some months underneath here. Getting back in with the Tombow dual tip brush pen for my future log title up the top there. Sometimes I like to sketch everything out, like how I've got my future log title fairly well planned here. Obviously the line weight from a brush pen like this one is a lot thicker than what I've sketched out with my pencil, so it doesn't always end up exactly matching up. But I also have my moments where I just leave it all blank and I go in and wing it because I'm lazy. Switching back to the Sharpie pen to add the title of each month in here. I didn't actually realize at the time that I gave July the whole name while I gave every other month its sort of first 3-letter abbreviation. Oh well, July can stay that way. July has worked hard to keep its Y, maybe. I don't know what I'm saying. Adding all the numbers in here is definitely the most tedious part of setting up any bullet journal spread when you've got a lot of dates to write down, a lot of numbers. And this is always the area that I find I mess up because I kind of just zone out. You're just writing numbers in sequence and you can easily get lost and carry on past the number of days in the month that you're doing. So when I was sketching this out in pencil, I kind of took my time. I went through the calendar on my phone and checked what day the first of each month fell on and what day the last of each month fell on. And then I just added in the number for each Monday through as well, because I like to start my weeks on a Monday in my journals just to make sure that everything matched up, and it worked really well. I'm going to speed this right up for you because you don't need to see me write every single number in excruciating detail. Do make sure you've got some good music on or a really good podcast or something when you're doing this part so that you have something to entertain you, but also maybe don't get too lost in it because that's how you can really zone out and put the wrong numbers down. I did make one mistake in November where I was supposed to write 15. I added a 13, which is funny because I'd already done the 14, so I don't know why I decided to count back down. I managed to fashion the 3 into a 5 though, and I don't think it's especially noticeable, so it's probably not going to bother me at all, to be honest. I do enjoy the simplicity of this spread, and I'm probably going to be a bit sad when I actually get to adding the events and the birthdays and everything onto it because it looks so nice and clean set up the way it is. And if you're a bit more minimalist than me, you can absolutely just ignore all of the decorative parts of every spread that I'm going to show you that I set up here. But for now, because it's me and I like to go a little bit extra, at least for my first setup of the year, I'm going to get back in there and add some more stars. I did find I needed to turn the book around a bit to get my stars going in all different directions. Otherwise, all of my stars are sitting exactly the same way, which looks a little bit obvious. And I wanted it to look like stars, you know, scattered and random and a little bit haphazard. So that was something that I needed to kind of keep myself in check for. If you're also going with a Starry layout inspired by this one, do make sure that you're trying to vary up the size of your stars as well. So you've got some big stars and some really little stars, and you'll find that your different pens kind of dictate what your stars can look like as well, which always helps. If you've got a finer tipped pen, then you can make a very nice small star. My next spread is for social media tracking and goals. I have a lot of social accounts, probably too many. And I've just recently started a new business with a friend of mine, so I'm making sure to add in the social media accounts for this exciting new business venture, as well as my existing social media accounts. So I have a lot of columns here. Maybe you won't have as many columns as I do, and there are some wonderful bullet journal setups out there that will show you how to track, you know, just one Instagram account or just one YouTube channel or whatever it is. I have too many things to track. So each month, on the first of the month, I go in and check how many followers I have on each of these platforms and note it down, and then I can see how I'm growing through the year. Keep an eye on anything that's kind of stagnated, although to be honest, I haven't been very diligent with my social media pursuits in the past year. I just haven't really been feeling it, except for YouTube, so, you know, we'll see how we go. I was going to kind of rule off each of these days, but I decided a highlight of each line instead with a very subtle color would be much more fun and kind of add a decorative element to the page while still being really functional. So I'm getting in there with this lilac marker. This one is a Faber-Castell Pitt brush pen. Brush pens are really handy for this kind of thing because you get such a nice, even, firm line out of them. And these ones are very nice and soft, and I like my brush pens to be pretty soft. I really struggle with the Tombow Fudenosuke because it's such a firm tip. And I'm like, I want this in my eyeliner, but I don't know if I want this in my calligraphy pen. I can see why it works so well for Japanese characters and that sort of thing, though. It definitely lends itself to something a bit pointier. I'm adding in one more line at the bottom for the total change. So I'm sure you've worked this out by now, but along the top I have the different social media accounts that I'm planning to track. Along the left-hand side I've got each month, so I can go in at the first of each month and note down what the details are at and track the progress. I guess I'll go back in on the 1st of January 2022 and work out what the change was for that last little row there that's blue. Oh, I've nearly made July have a Y again, but I caught myself just in time, and I'm just going to use a white Signo Uniball pen, gel pen, to fix that up, and I think it's good. I got away with it. It's not noticeable at all anymore. I did make the black lines a little bit too long down the bottom of the page here, so that white gel pen is going to come in really handy again to cover that up a little bit. Have you got your journal for 2021 yet? Let me know which journal you've gone for. I was getting pretty sick of the ghosting that I got in my Leuchtturm 1917 notebooks, which I've been using. I've used 3 of them now, so for the last 3 consecutive years. I had been planning on trying out an Archer and Olive last year, and then someone gave me a Leuchtturm 1917 notebook, and I was like, well, I'm not going to not use this because that would be a waste. So 1 more year of that, and now this year I got to start fresh. I picked up 2 of the Tsuki notebooks from Notebook Therapy. The other one is a hardcover, and I'm probably gonna, because there's less pages in those than the Leuchtturm 1917s have, I'm probably gonna need to jump to a new notebook mid-year because I'll probably fill this one up a lot quicker. But so far I'm really enjoying the white pages that make my white correction tape really not stand out from the page, which is nice because it really stood out on the Leuchtturm because the page isn't like a bright white on those, which is kind of frustrating. This one just doesn't want to play, does it? I don't know why that is. So let me know what notebook you're using. I am very keen to find out, and let me know what you think of it too. Are you going back to one that you've used in the past? Are you trying something new? Are you moving away from pen and paper and going into a digital bullet journal? I would love to hear, so please do jump into the comments below and let me know what you'll be setting up in for 2021. I just like saying 2021. Adding some more stars along the bottom because everything has to tie in. And I didn't think about it at the time. I was thinking, yeah, down the bottom's fine, but I'm going to come back and add some stars along the top too. I'm just not feeling very linear today as I set this up, so I'm actually going to jump over to the goals page first, starting with the title. This is such a lovely pen to letter with when you have a lot of room to do it, but if you're not doing a really big heading at the top of a page or something like that, then you're going to struggle a little bit because it's such a thick line that it makes. Getting in with my free hand here, I decided not to use the ruler for my goals page. I've got 4 separate little boxes for dividing up my goals into different categories. So I have personal and financial goals on the left side, and then business for my regular business. I am a self-employed person. And then underneath that, the next one, in case you're wondering what it says, it's butter, which is the name of my new business. So it looks a little bit strange to see, personal, financial, business, and butter. But trust me, it makes sense. The business one probably could have been the name of my other business, which is just my name, which is Erin, in case you missed that. And I'm going in with a little yellow line at the top of each of those boxes to pop the heading into. They're just going to be empty for now, but I will fill them in with my goals once I've had a good think about them. I do like setting goals. It was something I avoided for a really long time because I kind of just floated through life for many years. But setting goals definitely is a helpful thing to do. I do recommend it because then you can check back in with yourself and think, am I on the right track to achieve this goal that I set? Do I even still want to achieve this goal that I set? Because it's perfectly valid to also, come back to something and be like, oh, I don't actually want that anymore. A lot of my goals from last year did not come true because of COVID. I did manage to hit all my financial goals, which is a bit exciting. I'm very proud of that. I think most of my goals going into 2020 are going to be about Definitely business things, a little bit financial things. I want to get really into investing, which is something I started doing this year, something that I want to do a lot more of next year. Let me know what you're planning for your goals. I'm asking you lots of questions. I want to know all of the things. So basically, if you have anything to say, please do just jump into the comments because I love hearing from you. Here's a bit of music while we set up some more stars. Enjoying how these stars are turning out. It's so easy to make them happen because it's just 5 lines every way you do it, and especially with a brush pen because it fills itself in. You don't have to color it in. And some of them you can leave empty, little starry skeletons, and some of them you could even fill them with a different color if you wanted. You could do them in black and white and it would still look super gorgeous. And guess what? It's time for a new spread. These two, I had both of these spreads or something very similar to it in my bullet journal last year as well, and I found them really helpful, but my systems changed throughout the year and I found that the spreads weren't really working for me the way they were set up anymore, so I've adjusted the way these are going to work for next year. I sketched them out and then I realized as I went back in that this left side one, the savings tracker spread, was a little bit unbalanced, so I just decided as I went in there with the pen to move all of the lines over to the right one side. That doesn't make sense. Over one box to the right. Yeah, that works. And one thing I didn't think to leave myself for my savings tracker last year was an opening balance on all of these categories, which is a bit silly because then it was hard for me to kind of look back and be like, have I improved? Because I just jumped into January. These ones I actually do on the last day of each month. So maybe my systems don't work for everyone, but I jump in there on the last day of every month and I note down bank balances and investment balances and stuff just to see how I'm tracking. The top line is my opening balance and the bottom line is the total plus or minus for each column. So I've filled those ones in blue and I had the intention of filling in the other ones with purple and then I accidentally got in with the blue again. So a little mistake there, but I'm going to fix that. We'll come back to that though. Going to jump in with some pen. Do keep in mind that it is a little bit trickier to erase pencil lines when you have gone over them with some kind of brush pen or similar. You can't necessarily always get all of the pencil off, but I do find that it helps me to plan everything out in advance. So something to keep in mind. I'm definitely not about to jump in and freehand all of this stuff just from memory because it's not going to turn out right. There we go, correction tape to the rescue. Yay. This one just needs a heading. And then we will carry on to the Cashflow page. This one was just expenses last year and it took up the whole spread, but I think I'm able to condense it down a little bit this time, getting back in with the ruler because these ones, sometimes I have to put some pretty big numbers in these boxes, and sometimes, because last year's one was purely hand drawn and those lines were not all as straight as I would have liked them to be, and it didn't leave me enough space to add all of the digits for some of the bigger purchases that I made. Like I bought a car in April and I had to put a 5-figure sum in one of those boxes and it was a bit of a squeeze, but I made it work. So this time I'm making sure that each of them have adequate space to write the figures in there that I need to write. This one as well, I decided to shift things one box kind of upward. And as you can see here, I've got the book upside down right now and I've got all of my headings for each category of expense along the top. But the way I wrote them, which is a direct transplant from last year's setup, is that they're upside down when you're looking at the book the normal way, and I thought that doesn't really make sense. I do turn this spread so that the book is on its side to use it, but still I can read sideways, so it's fine. So up the top I have my total one, which probably should have been at the bottom ideally, something to keep in account for next year. And under that I've got categories for living expenses, business, grocery, takeaway food or dining out or whatever, car, health, beauty, clothing, home, dance, which is a hobby of mine that I love, entertainment, travel, fingers crossed, gifts, art, and the last one is donations. Each of those are divided into months, so within each of my monthly setups I will have a section for my expenses. I'll write down everything that I spend my money on through that month, and then at the end of the month tally it up into the various categories, transfer them into here, and then I can keep a really good eye on my finances for the year, especially as compared to this other little section I'm adding in, which is totally new to me, and that is my incoming. I have a couple of different income streams, and so I'm making sure to divide everything up there as well so I can see where my money is coming from. and then on the same page where it's also going. And because I need colors to survive, I'm going to add in some differentiating colors for each of these. So on the income section, I'm just going to highlight every second one in light blue and a light purple. And then along the top here, I'm going in the same way, alternating months. So January, March, May, July, September, November are going in the light purple color. And then February, April, June, August, October, and December get to be light blue. Once again, cool colors because I'm sweating right now. Now we just need some stars. I'm going to hit you with another question. What's your favorite song about stars? I think mine might be Simply Red. I don't exactly know what the song is called, but it's the one about I want to fall from the stars straight into your arms. It's a good song. Probably showing my age here because that's a pretty old song. One thing that's a little bit tricky about setting up this new notebook in particular is that the soft cover means that the book doesn't like to quite lay flat yet. It might need a little bit of training in that regard. So I found a few times here that in order to get my straight lines happening on that left side page, I have to pop something underneath the book so that it kind of sits level with the opposite side, the right side, where there are more pages currently. So I've just been sticking my eraser behind the book, and I find that that holds it up adequately. It's not an ideal fix, but it does the trick. Did you know in Australia we call erasers rubbers? I think that means something else in the States. This next one is my reading tracker, which I did not have in my initial setup last year. And then I suddenly got into reading when we locked down, and here we are. Now I have a reading tracker, which is nice because I missed reading a lot. Going into this title, I find R's really difficult, so I literally jumped on Google and I Googled R hand lettering, as in the letter R, not hand lettering is a nice thing, but R, hand lettering, and found one that I liked, and then I used that as a guide to put my reading header here. Just the word reading, not adding trackers or anything in there because I know what it is. I got a Kindle for Christmas last year and it has changed the game. So good. So now I'm just going to number down the side. I've read about 30 books this year, I think, and I've just joined a book club online, Lindsay Kelk's book club. If you're into the same kind of books that I am, then, you know, the I Heart series or anything like that, let's be friends. So I've numbered 1 to 30. If I need more, obviously I'm only expecting this book to last me about half of the year, so I can add more into the next journal. And on this other side, this is a page I've never had to do before. This is grid spacing. I am no Amanda Rach Lee, so this could probably have been a lot better because I didn't really go into it planning very well, and halfway through I started looking up other people's grid spacing pages, and I was like, I should have done it like you did. But basically, I'm just planning out where is the halfway point of my page, how many spaces is that, where are the thirds, and how many spaces is that, how many spaces and dots total do I have on each page, because it is different from one journal to the next. Even with the same, journal supplier, I had Loesch terms that were different to previous Loesch terms in the past. So it is something that you want to do for each book. Actually, in my Loesch terms, because the pages were so thin, you could kind of see through them, whatever was on the page behind. I would use those tear-out sheets that are at the back of the book and make my own templates. I do definitely still recommend that, and I'm not sure what my most used setups are going to be this year yet, so I haven't looked into it for how I would do that here. But these pages are much thicker, which is awesome, because see how there's no ghosting showing through? That's making me really happy. So I'm going to have to refer back to my grid spacing page when I'm setting things up in the future so that things are nice and easy for me. And I'm just using the left-hand side that I ruled off there on the reading page to add some more of my stars in, just to keep the theme consistent. I'm not decorating the grid spacing page because it's already got so many colors going on. I just realized I'm in my natural speaking really fast headspace right now, which this is just the speed at which I speak, but some people find it's a bit too quick. So if that's the case for you, feel free to slow me down with the handy-dandy YouTube speed settings down below. I actually watch everything on 1.75 speed typically, unless people speak as quickly as I do, in which case maybe 1.5. I guess I just listen fast. Go figure. At this point, I've Googled some other people's grid spacing systems and kind of I'm using them as inspiration to improve mine, because who knows what I'm going to need, and I'm probably going to come back to this page in the future and add more things to it as I realize that I need them. But for now, I don't know exactly what I need. So I'm adding the numbers across each of the spaces, both from the top to bottom and from the left to right. I'm working out where the center is, which the center is actually technically in between a couple of lines, but that isn't ideal. So I'm just working out kind of the closest to that I like. making sure to use different colored pens for everything so it's really clear what is what, and adding the number of spaces so I don't have to count it out each time. Although I do have them now also on the page, so I probably didn't need to do that, but I am nothing if not consistent, so I'm going to add them in anyway. I hope you like my mildly Christmas nails. I just felt like the beginning of December and the end of November is too early to go full Christmas on my hands as yet, so I've gone with this subtle kind of not quite grey, not quite purple that I mixed from other nail polishes, and a little bit of silver glitter, and hopefully that shows my festivity desire enough. Just adding some of this lilac into my first page because I didn't have any of it here, and I've used it so many times in the rest of the setup, so I felt like it needed some representation. And now we're getting back into the book. Okay, if I'm being totally honest with you, I almost forgot about this page. The Leuchtturms have a contents page included, and I hadn't even realized it. I had fully gone through and filmed my final flip through for you guys, and then I realized, wait, I don't have a table of contents. So here we go, I'm adding one in. Ideally, I would have preferred this to be the first page, but obviously we can't do that now, so here it is. Very simple, just the page number on the left-hand side, and then the topic. I had to check what they referred to it as in my Leuchtturm, the topic on the right side. Time for more stars. At this point, I was really glad that I'd picked something so easy to set up because there are quite a few more pages than my standard month-to-month setups in this whole beginning of the year overview kind of thing, so I was really glad to have taken it easy on myself. And here is the final flip through. Thank you so much for planning with me for the beginning of 2021. I hope you've enjoyed my starry little layout here. Look at that one star outlined in black that I decided was not my vibe, and didn't do it again for the rest of the setup. I have the highest hopes for you for 2021. I hope it turns out to be a wonderful year for you. I really appreciate you being here with me on my channel. Feel free to subscribe if this kind of video is your vibe. I also make some camera content, so my stuff's a little bit all over the place, but I'd be very happy to have you here. The rest of this book is full of pure potential, and I can't wait to see what I fill it up with. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you again very soon in another video. Bye!